Hi, Q&A. We have a question from Jojo. If you were charged with creating an image of yourself for posterity, which medium would you go for, painting or sculpture? Would you create a self-portrait? And if not, who would you commission to create it for you? Any artist or sculptor from past or present? What approach would you prefer them to take? Warts and all, abstract, caricature, humorous, or perhaps in the guise of a Greek god? Well, I definitely wouldn't have them do it in the guise of a Greek god. Which artist would I choose? Well, I'd go for two artists who are called Michelangelo. I'd go for Michelangelo Buonarroti, and definitely a sculpture. Preferably he'd have done me about 30 years ago, because I'm not sure he'd agree to do me at the age that I am now. And I'd definitely have to go to the gym for a few months before allowing Michelangelo, or before him allowing me to sit for him. He'd probably have to do me as one of the slaves, bemoaning the fate of the arts now that Pope Julius II is dead. The other Michelangelo would be Michelangelo Medici da Caravaggio, and I think in order for him to paint me, I'd have to become an honorary member of the Knights of Malta, and I'd have a huge gown with a black cross of the Knights of St. John on the back, and I'd have a fantastic fencing rapier. Perhaps I'd borrow Caravaggio's own, and I'd strike a pose and he'd paint me. And we'd be lads together in Malta. He, the painter fugitive, I, the dashing art critic with a sword. Well, those are flights of fancy. I think that if you were going to have a characterful portrait of yourself, I love Van Gogh's portraits, I have to say. But I also think Singer Sargent was pretty amazing as a portrait painter. Very underrated. Or I could have Reynolds do me. He did a good line in Writers, hunched over their work. Yeah, so there's some food for thought there. Thank you, Jojo. The only other thing I would say is that if I were going to do a portrait of myself, you ask, well, you may not have noticed, but I have kind of done that. In the form of approximately 120 documentaries which have got an awful lot of me in them, and I would have said have got an awful lot of my personality, character and enthusiasms in them, not to mention my book on Caravaggio, which among other things is a kind of disguised self-portrait, not that I'm comparing my life to his, and in a way, I hope my book on Vermeer will be a portrait of another part of myself. Giorgio Vasari said that whenever any artist painted any picture, they were, as well as the subject they were painting, they were creating a self-portrait. And I think that's true of writers too. Anyway, great question. Thank you, Jojo.